social entrepreneurship development in North Macedonia. I think that it is really important moment for social entrepreneurship development because we have 8 regional support centers set up, and these workshops are dedicated to prepare regional support centers to serve and to support local social enterprises. The most important thing is that social enterprises are those which put mission over the profit. Mission is the first, mission is the most important. Then we use entrepreneurial approach, business approach to fulfill mission, to fulfill the mission. So I think that this is very important, and probably you also agree with me that these workshops are very, very needed to better understand the concept and to find systematic solutions for social entrepreneurship development in North Macedonia. So today we have few presenters. So first it is Zuzanna Trajkowska. She will take floor as a first presenter. She will present how we can match mission with business approach, how we can switch these two wings. Sometimes maybe we can think that it is impossible to match mission with businesses. So how we can do that? Then we will have presentation of my Polish friends, Piotr Janowicz, who is owner of the construction company, the Constructa Plus, and together with Professor Piotr Marciniak, who is an architecture, they will present a beautiful project on the regeneration of old fortification and how this fortification will be used for the sake of social enterprises and for the sake of local people, inhabitants of Poznań. And also they will present how it happened that this company has such strong social responsibility concept incorporated in their activities. And then we will have presentation of Mindaugas Danis from Lithuania, who will present some innovative solutions used by social enterprises. And in the end, we'll have presentation of the social enterprise called Vestarzena from Tetovo. It is also a very interesting example of social enterprise. They cooperate closely with private company and local community, also integrate people who are unemployed and people with different social problems. So Piotr asked to start. Okay, Piotr. So we'll start from Polish example. Okay, okay. So please take the floor.
Piotrze, czy ty zaczniesz? Piotr, you will start or?
Yes, maybe Piotr Janowicz as an owner, and please, from your personal point of view, please present how it is, what is the situation, why you decided to regenerate this fort, and how you take responsibility for this company after your father and all these things.
Good afternoon to you. Maybe a few words on the beginning. Thank you for invitation, but well, I'm limited of the university lecture, which is the last one in this semester. So that's why I asked to be the first.
Okay.
Let me do it. And Piotr, you want to introduce?
Maybe we can start with the presentation, and after the presentation, I will tell a few words about the company and how it all started.
I prepared a presentation for about 30 minutes. Is it okay?
Yes, okay.
Thank you. So I switch on the video, and I will share the screen. Hope everything is visible.
Yes.
Okay, great. I would like to present the Fort 7A in Poznań in Poland revitalization project entitled as a social redevelopment project, Common Space, which is a joint development of Konstrukta Plus and the Barka Motola Aid Foundation, as well as Litoborski Marciniak Architectural Office. And the project is located in Poznań, major city in western part of Poland and the capital of the historical region called of Greater Poland. The Poznań is located halfway, as you know, probably halfway between Berlin and Warsaw. In the beginning, I would like to say a few words about Persian fortifications. Persian fortifications are the heritage of the past located in the city space. From 1839, work was started on the construction and modernization of the Poznań fortress. And Poznań fortification plan, as you can see from 1892, shows the whole system of fortification. It's worth mentioning that the Poznań fortress was one of the most outstanding works of military construction. There's a picture shows that the historical drawing location of the fort and fields surrounding. Some of the fortresses were demolished after the Second World War. Others are limitation in the city's development. Poznań's forts have not been lucky so far, becoming a devastated and degraded space. In Poznań, apart from the city, objects including 18 forts and the outer ring, of which only few are used. The rest of them decay into a permanent ruin devoid of any functions. The World War first aerial photos shows their arrangement against the background of surrounding fields. Today, as traces of past, they are good reference point for creating our idea a new urban and a social space. And their mining traces are a good point of reference for creating a new urban and social space. Fort 7A nowadays, it's a private property. Fort 7A, called Fort Strota, in the past, in the post-war period, was used by the Polish People's Army as a backup communication node called Kaliber. And the fort, it's located in both streets. I think it's not important to explain. Not far to the downtown, and has belonged to the Konstrukta Plus company since 2002. Currently, the fort is an area of 9.5 hectares, which is close and completely inaccessible. And the birds, a few shows the area, and is surrounded by residential buildings and fields belonging to the University of Life Science and the adjacent areas of the Marcelinski Forest at the left side. You cannot see these huge scale buildings because they are on the front of this picture. I'm so sorry. And the entrance gate is closed. Behind, if you can see the post-military buildings, apart from occasional visits and trips, it's a blank spot in the city space and is not used in a specific way. Empty interiors are interesting space with a great potential. This is our joint common opinion. The area of the fort today is a degraded space carrying the post-military buildings with a covered with a plant material of self-sanding natures. Buildings are decaying and the existing greenery is naturally degraded. The area it was used as a dumpster and a rubble. Concrete fence, as we can see, effectively separates it from the surrounding space. Greenery is subject to degradation and numerous broken trees pose a threat to the visitors. For the 7A as a cultural heritage, is an important part of common cultural heritage. Very difficult part because it's in Poznań we have difficult Polish, German, Polish, Prussian history, and anyway, it's a common cultural heritage of the past and an Architectura Militaris monument. The fort is now the set of the Association of Friends of Lublin. And the fort was shown in a wider audience during the Fortress weekends and during the Poznań for half price and as a part of Poznań Fortress days. But it's very seldom, but can be otherwise. Developing the post-fortress area is not an easy task due to the huge scale of the post-military buildings, poor technical conditions, lack of infrastructure, and huge investment expenditures necessary to bear. However, there are several examples of using individual objects as a museum of entire assumptions that give a second life, we call it a second life, to a monument and combine it with a contemporary function. On the one of the most interesting examples is adaptation for Tirpitz in Jutland. It's is in Denmark, designed by the very famous architecture office Big Group. Or in Poland, Katyn Museum at Warsaw Citadel, as well. Another examples, another fort in Warsaw. However, not all forts can be museums. The buildings of Piłsudski Fort in Warsaw turn out to a bold proposal using the advantages of the landform water greenery visible in the panorama of the city. The revitalization of Fort 7A, as I mentioned, is not an easy task, but however, it is possible. Revitalization is bringing back to life, reviving. It is a synergy of people, building, and the greenery. And our idea of the revitalization of Fort 7A is an innovative, the first in Poland, public-private project aimed at beneficial transformation of the city area and to a qualitative improvement of the living conditions of the inhabitants. You can see our inspiration of the project is an idea of the settlement biome, and the urban biome. It's a transposition of this idea. It's an idea that combines the ecological environment and the historical heritage and the social space, which is very, very important part of our project. The project of revitalization of the area of the Fort 7A assumes the creation of the urban biome habitat, we can say, ecological settlement, combining the idea of the eco-architecture and the post-fortress areas, with the creation of the fully functional space and the green habitat. Planned social interactions are a very important issue, making space available for many users, residents of the neighboring housing estates, social economy entities, the elderly and the disabled, as well as the future residents. This is a site plan. You can see we plan the land development visible in the picture takes into account of the location of residential buildings, 12 of them, and fort facilities, and in the vast majority of areas, a number of other functions, educational path, habitats for birds, municipal gardening, and parking lots. There are also outdoor sculptures, galleries, flower meadows, and I will show it further. The new life of the monument, we think, is a chance for its preservation and restoration. Of course, Fort 7A is a part of the Poznań fortification system, and it is entered in the register of monuments. It is very important because everything has to be under control of the conservator. What we are planning? We are planning its adaptation and reconstruction in line with the conservation spirit of the Kraków Charter. We would like to emphasize that the fort reconstruction project has already been partially financed by the European Union. And the Krakow 2000 International Conservation Conference, as the leading theme of the plenary session, adopted the thesis that the historical heritage may be the foundation of modern civilization. Also, historic sites were included in the area of protection. Historical concept of monument as a static to move for the dynamic bank of heritage functioning in a social useful way. The final division of functions, this zero level, includes rooms for the social economy entities, which we'll talk about it in a while. Foundation for seniors meeting, and space for handicrafts, various workshops, place for temporary exhibitions, exhibitions, a gallery in the courtyard, as well as a restaurant, a cafe, and a multifunctional hall, which is a very important part. This is a place of performances, meetings, and the lectures serving local residents. In the first level, there will be common work rooms for social economy entities, as well as sanitaries and a place for open air galleries and installations. The social space is one of the most important message of this project. The revitalized area will be transformed into a space that will be a synergy, as I mentioned before, people, buildings, and a greenery, while maintaining its historical values. Fort will fulfill socially useful functions. Fort 7A will be a good practice in the city, region, and the country. And private land will be made available to the residents of Poznań for everyday use, offer of social economy entities. For example, the spheres of the civic activity, foundations, and non-profit organizations whose activities will be coordinated by the Barka Foundation. This is a very important, very important part of the project for the public participation. And the fort will meet also possible requirements of universal design and accessibility for people with disabilities. The important traits of project are to join work and and the joy of the being together, availability, as I mentioned, and a space design on basis of universal design principles and available to all users. Finally, we think it can also be zone of silence of contemplation, free from electromagnetic smoke. If you, personal remark, if you will go inside, you will notice that your cell phone will stop working. I think it's especially for younger people, it can be very valuable experience. Green Island in the fort area is to be a green island for people. One of the key elements of the project is the natural environment, which is the main value of the project. Fort area is to be a green island with new functions and be a part of the city's natural system. The existing monoculture of self-seeding and accidental plantings is to be rebuilt with a carefully planned park greenery. And the whole project is to be environmentally friendly, reduce the amount of waste, include space for municipal gardening, houses for insects and hedgerows, birds, habitats, flowers, meadows, I will show you later. And also include the total rainwater retention and sustainable waste management. Reconstruction of the green system is one of the key issues. We are aware that the greenery located in the fort and the way in which it is developed evokes many emotions but requires necessary transformations. 7A is a part of the chain of fortification and has to be an attractive part of the city green system. Existing trees were planted after World War II. Currently, the greenery is mostly sick trees on the verge of biological life, self-seeding and windbreaks. Instead of in active spaces, we plant the plantings. The projects assume the reconstruction and arrangement of the green system through the plot, and the trees are to be replaced with the new plantings in a 1-to-1 ratio. The plantings are planted in a 4th area to replace, to remove. In many cases, 6 trees, the most valuable trees, will be replanted. And the result of our activities is an fenced open area. The scope of the site availability after revitalization assumes 6.5 hectares of completely open area, and as you can see on the picture, 3 hectares of the partially open area. And the fort is not, it will be not a closed enclave, but really open space. We think to ultimate goal is to create a fully accessible public space. For example, one of the planned public function open outdoor shows and open earth. The aim of the activities undertaken as the exchange of spaces and the creation of fully accessible and safe park greenery. And the result is a common green space available for all residents of Marcelin, which is a part of Poznan, located where the fort is located. The boundary of the project of the protected Natura 2000 area is on in the inner part of the fort. It's connecting due to the bat protection. There is a habitat of bats. Unfortunately, only a few so far, exactly 2 or 4, I don't remember, Piotr can explain later. But our project involves the transfer of more of these interesting mammals and their observation. We plan to create houses for insects in the area. Instead of modern lawns, we design flower meadows with the participation of naturalists and green designers. Currently, a small apiary is in operation. We want to develop in future, taking advantage of the possibilities offered the bees by home gardens and communal allotments. An important element of the project is also the urban gardening. It's to be a space for individual crops available to residents of neighboring estates. We have been collecting rainwater in buildings erected by consortium for many years. And the water retention is one of the challenge now in Poznan, and the world was one of the contemporary challenge. And the project includes the retention of rainwater collected in the underground reservoirs, as well as lawns and rain gardens. Transport accessibility is an important element of the project. We design a city bike station, and there is connection to the bus lines. City plans to build a new tram line in the vicinity. At least stay in Poznan. An important element of the entire project is the housing. Its meaning is the economic support of the really costly task of restoring the historical area of the former fort to modern functions. Housing development is also a chance to stop the process of urban sprawl and exodus of Poznań residents to other municipalities. And perhaps mostly importantly, creating a social space accessible to all Poznań residents. When designing new buildings, we kept the existing landscape in mind. 12 5-story buildings be erected, and the planned development will not be higher than the surrounding tree line and much lower than the neighboring buildings. The essence of the project is use of natural materials and greenery, as you can see a picture, examples of part of elevation, and it will also be important to refer the plans motifs on the facades, partly on the facades. The design buildings in terrace layout are to fit in with the surrounding greenery, intensively green roofs, terraces, and communication elements are to fit into the natural dimensions of the project, which is surrounding as well. And the revitalization of Fort 78, the Bertic view, means the restoration of the city space and creation also the social space. So finally, the revitalization of Fort 7A is a very complex task in line with sustainable spatial planning. The aim of the project is to revitalize the post-fortress areas. There is also a housing environment for people returning from the suburbs to the center of the city. The whole idea, the whole project is to be environmentally friendly and accessible to all residents of Poznań. You can see some visualizations, the entrance for the oldest part of the fortress, and the courtyard with the gallery of contemporary art. And these pictures you saw on the beginning, the shows the empty spaces we want to adapt for the social common space. And the final view will show you the space, the restoration and the view of the whole space of the fortress and the surrounding. So thank you for your attention. I am not sure, maybe Barbara, may I show the movie or not?
Yes, but we saw the movie.
Okay.
No, we saw the movie. Yes, I presented, I think, two days ago. Yes. So thank you so much. And now I would like to ask Piotr Janowicz to explain how this project will be financed, and also how we can involve private companies to be involved for such project and with cooperation with social enterprises. And then we have also a question of Gordana. So maybe Gordana, you also can ask the question. So Professor Piotr Marciniak and Piotr Janowicz can answer questions together. So Gordana.
I'm here. Hello, everyone. Thank you for the presentation. It is a great example of using cooperation between companies and foundations to do something good for the society. I'm very impressed by the plans, that it's such a holistic, organic approach. And actually, while I was listening, I was thinking if we could do the same thing in Macedonia, if we could transfer such a model here.
Franczyza.
Yes, it would be great to have the same model transferred to Macedonia. So maybe you can share some advice on this. Thanks.
Okay. Who else would like to ask the questions? Who else has the questions? Okay, so maybe later, please. Piotr.
Okay. First thing, financial side of the project. Of course, it costs a lot. Partly we get funds from European Union. It's about 30% of the project itself. Rest is from the housing buildings. So we plan it that way that we are going to sell flats and that get money from the flat and put it into the fort, into the social part. And these flats help us to maintain all projects. So it all combined together, and we think it will work that way. Of course, we need money to build all that stuff before we build the flats. But we all it's a very difficult time right now because of the COVID, because of the price increase rapidly lately. But we think we will be able to put money, our own money, to this project, and then get it back from the housing project, and we'll be able to maintain the social project. That is the reason why we are going to raise a foundation, something like umbrella foundation, which will help social entities to get funds for its aims, to learn them and teach them how to deal with business entities and deal with themselves and cooperate. So this is the financial part. Of course, for us it's easier because we had a plot. My father bought the plot almost 20 years ago, so the price was really different then than it's now. So we are able to do it. But honestly, it's most expensive to do it in monument, in historical building or historical area than build somewhere else, something like this. But this is connected with our different aims, not only with social entities. So basically, this is the financial part. And you asked me about the cooperation between business and social entities. This is pretty hard for me as a businessman, and I can answer only on my own example, because me and my wife, because we together deal with this company, we are in a really comfortable position because my father started this company over 25 years ago. And his aim was, of course, to develop the company, to earn the money, to build buildings, warehouses, generally industrial buildings. And when he get on his retirement, he left the company to us, and like I said, we are in really comfortable position because we don't need to fight for or squeeze every money from the investment. We can think about something more. Of course, the time has changed. The time was different in the 90s. The time is different now. The society has changed, and now we are more rich society in general. And we can think about something more, and we are looking for something I called additional value. So we are trying to implement something more to our buildings. And according to the fort, because we are talking about this project, we think this is so huge, so big, and there are so many things to talk about this project. There's several aims, but according to social cooperation, this is something for the society, because we did some research, we did some analysis about the region, about the local needs, and we figure it out that there is no place for people, because there is a lot of housing, a lot of office buildings, there is a shopping mall nearby, but there is a lack of public spaces, there is a lack of place for people. And that was one of the ideas what brings us to this project. So I think it's basically it. If you, of course, if you have more questions, just don't hesitate to ask. I try to answer as best as I can.
Yes, it was kind of the testimony of the owner of the private company. And I was wondering whether such a story can inspire other owners of the companies, whether those who are in the better position, because Piotr mentioned that what was important, that he received some properties from his father, and they took over the responsibility, and now they are looking to also provide something like added value, like something what is connected with solidarity, with inclusion. And at the same time, they are trying to find financial solutions. So they will build these 12 flats to also cover the costs of this investment. So I think it is really great example. The question is whether we could think about franchising, whether when you will build this and when the project will be finalized, whether we could try to think about something similar here.
I know how the Macedonian market or the society look like. I'm not familiar with that, but I think it's, of course, it's general idea is possible to you know, just copy it. But I think in Macedonia, you have to think locally and think how your possibilities look like and what are your needs generally, and then project to your needs and possibilities.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So do you have more questions? One more question to our guests from Poland. Mimosa, please. Mimosa from Ohrid, from the beautiful region, Ohrid.
Hello, thank you very much for the lovely presentation. I will just comment this because my background is in architecture. I'm an architect. And I can say that the student of architecture in Macedonia, they have lots of similar ideas through their studies at school. When I have finished my faculty in 1990, my masterpiece of the finalizing the school, it was a revitalization of one part of the old town of the city, nearby the entrance of old city. But as I know, because I'm not anymore in my profession, I'm doing something else. As I know, as I follow, we do not have such locations under the private ownership. That's the main thing that it's stopping or slowing this process, because more or less these locations belong to the state or to the municipality, and they are like always lacking money for such initiatives. They are putting the money in other projects, and lots of lovely locations are still waiting for such a lovely initiative like we are seeing here in Poznan. Thank you very much for the presentation and for the example. That was just a comment.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. So maybe last words from Professor Piotr Marciniak and Piotr Janowicz. What have you learned from this project, from the cooperation with social enterprises? What have you learned from the cooperation with regional authorities, local authorities of Poznań, Poland? What have you learned?
Well, in a short words, we are learning all the time. It's very important to have a connection and support from local authorities and to inform as many as possible the people and the communities what is the main idea and which direction we are going to do. And what is the purpose of the project, connecting this exciting for me almost different parts. I mean, the people and private historical property and this green environment. So I think Ireland is really important to find a solution for the difficult part of our common history and for this difficult unloved, I would say, parts of our space. And I think the most important is the island is the social part, social partners. It's a great impact. It's a great power. It's really something very important for our design, our idea.
Thank you so much, Professor. And I know you know Macedonia, so you are warmly welcome. You are warmly welcome. You have now friends in 8 regions of Macedonia, so you can visit Bitula, Ohrid, Strumica, Tetovo, Veles, you know.
Of course, with a pleasure. I always can say some, I can even show and the lecture about this in Poland, our experience of what to do with this heritage and what we can do with this very wide field of heritage protection, especially the buildings from 19th, 20th century. Thank you.
Thank you. And Piotr?
I think for me, the biggest value is to see the different point of views, especially from the social entities or social economy enterprises, because it was something that I wasn't familiar with. So anyway, different point of views from everybody involved in this project, especially, for example, social activists. This is something that really helped me to see more things around me, to be or to stay more open-minded. And I think this is the biggest value. Of course, there are a lot of things connected with this project and a lot of things on which I could think about and tell you about it, especially heritage, how to renovate heritage, how to connect it with the environment, how to connect it with the people in general. There are many things. This project is like jigsaw puzzle, and when you remove one puzzle, rest won't fit. So I think this is another value of this project, that we are able, and this is our advantage as a private investor, according to the public one, that we are able to do it with 100% with precise time, because there is very often something like the public investor is raising the funds, doing one part, and then after some time another, and we are able to do this project in one time. Of course, there are many obstacles which are during our road, and this is also a knowledge for us, especially connected with the local authorities and you know, there is always someone who thinks in different way, and we have to convince him. So generally, I think meeting people, talking with them, exchanging our minds, open our you know minds is the biggest value for me.
Thank you so much. Really great presentation and great testimony. We will use you to your knowledge, your experiences to maybe convince other companies to cooperate with social enterprises to understand this concept. And as you mentioned, you also have feeling that you are enriched, and it is mutual way that people are more more understand each other and are enrich all of us. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. So now we would like to ask Zuzanna Trajkowska to present approach how we have to support social enterprises to develop their mission together with business aspect of the activity.
Хубав ден на сите.
So you can
Good day to you all.
put translation is available if you would like to stay with us. So you should put push translation, English translation.
Everything's fine. We can hear her. So she started speaking into Macedonian. Interpretation is to follow. As a result of the former sessions, actually, I decided today to speak in Macedonian language with the Bitola dialect, because Bitola is the city that I originally come from. I wish you all a pleasant day, greetings, and I wish you all a successful meeting. I'm going to offer my opinion of a person who has suffered, not of a person who has forecasted things. I will tell you what I have learned. I will share my lessons learned, everything I learned during my work, during my experience. Also, I have prepared a PowerPoint presentation. The question is how to support the social enterprises. I feel like on TV. So let me tell you, first of all, you are a social enterprise, then a regional center, then a project for support of regional businesses, then maybe an NGO that is supposed to draft the projects. This is how I imagine my presentation here today. The question is how to support social enterprises. The formula that I have been using so far is to include all the brilliant implementers, people who indeed produce results. This might be a product, a project, or a service. People who know how to utilize the capabilities and resources they have, and they know how to achieve a major impact. These are people who should have achieved a higher social goal in the past. People who are successful and know how to do that. So this is how I branded myself. Who plants goodwill will be able to harvest goodwill. I am a person who has inspired myself and enriched my experience by working with individuals from the community in order to establish a society that is based on knowledge, innovations, new technologies, balanced life, and coexistence. Not to speak about all the other attributes. I believe that the word balanced is the best choice. Why is it that I'm saying this? I have 15 years experience in business out of the total of 50 years, and 50 years I have been working in the NGO sector. I am a typical hybrid model of business plus projects, something that goes. Today, I got the Joker, the special card, and as a result, I can tell you what is it that we can do if we are an NGO, and what is it that we can do if we are a business, and how is it possible to benefit from the pros and cons for both. We have plenty of ideas today, competitions for a business plan, Arno, junior achievements, accelerators, startup companies, international events, self-employment, project of NGOs, different programs for rehabilitation and getting rid of dependencies. Very good examples we have heard during the past 3 days, including today. Very good examples of sustainable social enterprises, very good examples of social programs. In vivo, the example from the cities of Prilep, Strumica, Struga and Ohrid. And also we could see that we have laid different paths for us, different business models. And let me tell you what was my impression. This is where we are, or how we look like. We are at the very beginning with just small but safe and sound movements. So this is how I would represent our current situation with this photograph. However, we are here indeed in order to improve the situation, to move forward. Where is it that we can recognize the social enterprises, the good ones? Because when you come up with certain ideas, what is to be changed and how this can be done, or where such ideas could be developed further, I have listed here some of the possibilities. NGOs, they might provide support for people with disabilities, single parents, for the overcoming of poverty, companies that already have certain social programs in place, informal businesses, handicraft chambers, local institutions, high schools. And maybe now you will tell me, okay, this is something we know, this is familiar. Yes, but the question is, what is it that we have to do when we recognize such a possibilities? That is to say, how is it possible for the NGO to develop a social enterprise? How is it possible for an NGO to recognize the best collaborators? And this is how you would do it. Now we are in this stage where we are using our loudspeakers to announce to people, what does it mean, social enterprise? What social business really means? How is it possible for people to identify themselves with the social enterprises? Macedonia, most of the companies are actually social enterprises, because in a single company you will find 2 or 3 families that work there. So basically they provide for jobs for the wider families. This is what we have currently, as the construction workers would say. Now you lay down the foundation. What is the foundation? It is the strategy. And we could hear that the strategy was actually given to the ministries there. Then this is going to be followed by a communication of the strategy. And we have to give our definition of what the social enterprises would be. Whether we are going to place the emphasis on companies that are going to hire vulnerable categories of people, or these are companies that will resolve social problems, poverty problems, environmental issues. Why is this important? In order to overcome any manipulations, so that the true social enterprises will get the benefits that are due to them. These are not yet defined or announced as such, But this would mean lesser taxes, special funds for funding, maybe special preferences or subsidies when they apply to tendering proceedings. So currently, we are laying down the foundations of the social enterprises that we are going to develop in the future as a social business and social entrepreneurship.
What is happening right now is to find a systematic solutions like the Eptisa and Barka project. And what we need to do, and what we do all the time, is to focus on a higher mobilization of the young people. They are those who need solutions for their own environment. They want a better life. They want to recycle. They want to make the environment more beautiful. They want to find solutions for their requests. And not only to stick to the youth, but also to focus on vulnerable groups, social categories of people, reintegration, and eco problems. I'm saying this because how is it possible that our young people, when they go abroad for any purpose, for studying or working, they easily adjust to everything that is happening there? This means that if our system, if our complete solution on national level manages to establish the frameworks, then it will be easier for us to give our personal contribution. What is happening to us? We keep testing different ideas and different business models, environment models, rehabilitation models, integration of people, promotion of products, promotion of various types of sale. All of this is good, but it's so limited. And these are mainly micro and small businesses, but they are important enough to motivate initiatives of a larger scale. And how can we do that? By creating support instruments. If I were a social entrepreneur, I have an idea to make, for example, production of organic food. Where should I ask or call? I will call the regional center, and the regional center will tell me what possibilities I have. I will get information about the funds and financial instruments that I can get, where I can find partners or clients, or maybe even find other collaborators so that we accomplish this idea together. For example, I will be producing organic food, but I will find a restaurant partner that will serve my organic food. This is happening. I'm not saying it is not, but we need to intensify it. If I were an NGO, and when I see what is going on, this is a result of my own personal experiences, and this is what I hear from the people I talk to. They talk about the lack of cooperation with the local institutions, lack of cooperation with the banks, big donors. I'm now talking about smaller NGOs. They don't have sufficient capacities for administration or application for projects and tenders. They simply don't have the knowledge. They don't know the procedures, and this lack of knowledge makes us withdraw. For instance, There was a training that was planned and was intended for local institutions to learn how to apply for tenders. So the tenders should be composed in a way to enable local and smaller NGOs to be able to apply. Also, NGOs are afraid that they will fail. In other words, they are insecure that they will be able to provide financial instruments to cover their costs. This is where we have to make a distinction. We must find appropriate capacities that will enable parallel performance and implementation of the projects and social entrepreneurship. What I also notice with the NGOs is that they don't have the system of work and the tools necessary for social growth or growth of social business. We all know how projects function. We have a complete project management and we know when we should submit reports, what the indicators are, how we should file reports with the donors, etc. But social business has a problem. Social business must report on how many time it spends on reporting, deliveries, serving the clients, etc. If we have all of these tools that we have in the project, if we have them in the business too, the business will show much better results. The title is an old Ohrid saying that a wall without pebbles will not be standing for long. So we are the little stones, the pebbles that go into the holes of this wall. We have to cooperate with the community and the local institutions and companies. We have to be covered by the media all the time. We have to promote our new activities and we have to promote what we do for the local community. But the media coverage will not be just coverage of our words, but also of our deeds and activities. What all NGOs do now is to include multiple target groups. It means, and you heard from the previous speakers, a wonderful synergy of things that maybe in our conditions will not be able to be merged. For instance, you have an object, part of cultural and historical heritage, and then you merge it with social businesses, environment, housing facilities. So what you get is an innovative approach. We have multiple aspects in our work. We should not have only a single point of view. What I really liked is that the focus was on the solution. The focus was on the compromise reached among all stakeholders. The title now is There is a Long Way Between the Words and the Deeds. We all know from the regional centers, everybody is well-trained, experienced. Everybody from the regional centers have gone through a lot. But in order to establish a social enterprise, there are so many challenges on the way. What is important here? It is important that you have human resources from the very beginning. Human resources that will support the idea. The idea needs to be wide. comprehensive, with a great impact on the community. You must have this initial euphoria. We are the best, we can do it, we will change the world. But once you start with procurement, costs, money, then that euphoria sometimes dies. So the initial euphoria becomes figures and numbers. The energy is transformed into algebra. And this is where we start resolving the challenges. This is when we should ask the questions. How do we reset ourselves? How do we proceed in the future? How do we make profit, and how do we reinvest that profit? How do we find solutions to our problems, and how we reach the expectations? Our people say vineyards do not ask for prayers, they ask for work, for shovel, which means this requires work 24/7. We need to get out of this glass room called project plus business. We have to focus ourselves on doing something that is sustainable. We all know that once the project ends, unless we ensure sustainability or some commercial activity, we will have to wait for another project, or we will go in a standby mode. And this formula, project plus business, gives a new perspective for the sustainability of the NGOs, and even more for development of social entrepreneurship, which can be, on the other hand, a donor to some future projects that will be implemented by the NGOs. This will be a kind of symbiosis, a synergy of social businesses, NGO sector, or synergy between local community, regional centers, etc. In any form that we can think of, any form of cooperation. I'm going to tell you a realistic example, expectations and reality. The municipality promises to give you some facilities for a social service center. They open this facility, they start organizing events, it's even a small cafeteria, and 12 months later, because they completely neglected the fact that they need consent of the municipality in writing, here comes an invoice for the utilization of the facility. The result was obvious. You missed the moment of having a written document that you will be able to use that facility. Otherwise, if you don't pay, you have to leave that facility. And what we are doing now is actually reaching a balance between project activities and business. It is very important when you have some project activities, for instance, to train 50 people, and you put that in the project as free training. On the other hand, in your plan, you put that you will charge for the training. And now, when you have to decide what you're going to do, you make these trainings for free so that you achieve the goal that you envisage, but on the other hand, you lose the economic activity that would have ensured your sustainability. So you give a free training, and now you have to decide which services you will have to charge for. Sometimes on internet, we see applications where you go to certain level and it says this is free, but if you want a more professional type or model of that service, you have to pay for a subscription. What kind of support do social enterprises need? I have been obsessed for some time with this business plan thing, and I am using it because I see that companies find it very easy to explain what they do as a business. But this is a modified business plan because it focuses on the mission, then focuses on market, value, and implementation, and of course, finances, what kind of or which part of the profit you will reinvest. Social enterprises need to seek more channels for sale, not only online shops or stores. They can sign contracts with distribution networks, with other companies, etc. What is important is to sell the story of social entrepreneurship. We have seen extraordinary examples where you buy a product, but you also get a story about how that product was created and by whom, or what is the origin of that product, what is the energy in the product. What is also important is what are the benefits for the buyer. There are many businesses who don't do this. They don't make market analysis. They never ask the buyers, why do you buy my products? They don't use their references and credentials on how people feel when they buy their product. Communication with the clients means a shared energy, shared dedication of the company to social mission, and all of these things together with the social innovation, all of this gives the heart, the core of social entrepreneurship. This is which the public feels when they hear social entrepreneurship. This is the face of a social enterprise. What is happening inside? They need resources. They need equipment, material, certifications. You need partners. You need to know the key activities. And what is also very important is the financial part, how to balance between the costs and profits, how to reinvest the profit into social centers. To avoid being too theoretical, this is how I see social entrepreneurship in our country. Our guest from Poland said it very well. We have to work according to the local conditions. We are here on this level and we want to reach the level in the world. So what do? We ask, we search. But if you put a plant in a pot, this is the result. If you plant a herb, a plant in the field, this is the result. You know, maybe they put some fertilizers, maybe the sun shines differently, maybe they have a modern irrigation system. It doesn't matter. We need to know these things so that we reach the goal on the second photograph. This is one example of a social enterprise from Bitola that worked in 2019 under the name Articulture. I was one of the members of Articulture.
Susanna, 2-3 minutes left, and then questions. Okay.
What is the goal of the initiative? It is to create a social center where people will get together and they will cherish alternative culture. The form is cooperative, 15 people, each paying 300 euros, and they made the cafeteria that has been functioning for more than a year. As far as the profits are concerned, the profit was supposed to be reinvested into buying equipment for young music bands and rehearsals. But what happened? I told you the example with the municipality. Simply, the place was closed because they failed to plan these costs. And the cooperative still exists virtually, but it has lost the charm that it used to have. Why it doesn't function? People are not dolls. People have emotions, and in social entrepreneurship, it's important to have empathy for all people. Secondly, there is no support system, and there was no support. And what is the message of all of this? If you want to have strong social enterprises, you need ecosystem for support, strong leaders, business and financial support.